Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations discussion. And today, I want to look over something that one of you guys suggested that I discuss, which is a closer examination and the narrative impact on Boruto being the one that Konoha's chasing after, including one source of information that you guys say I've overlooked, and discuss whether or not this is a good idea. So while I personally don't think this is the case, at least as of right now, I haven't been swayed onto this line of thinking. You guys know I'm not opposed to looking at other opposing perspectives in order to give all sides of an opinion a voice on the channel. So one of my viewers reached out and said that Boruto is seeing the scenes from the future because it's really from Momoshiki's perspective, and all this has occurred after Boruto gave up control to Momoshiki, which is what Momoshiki told Boruto was going to be the case, that he would end up in a situation so dire that Boruto would lose the will to live and give up control to Momoshiki. They say part of what supports this is the current anime opening, Boruto opening 11, which has been sprinkled with foreshadowing for future events. Essentially, they're saying that the anime opening that you see, when you look at it, it clearly isn't the same typical anime opening filled with clickbait that we normally get, where we see a bunch of cool scenes that have nothing to do with the plot or what's coming to the actual story. Boruto opening 11 has tons of manga references, and it isn't just Boruto versus Kawaki. They're saying that Boruto running through the darkness with all those fragmented memories floating around him isn't just for Momoshiki taking control during the Cold Assault arc, but also is a double reference for Momoshiki taking control again during this current arc, like Momoshiki told him was going to be the case. It's Boruto desperately trying to run his way through the darkness to get back in control of his body and back in control of his mind. They say that given this information, the fact that Boruto is shown running through the darkness, surrounded by those memories of his past, and is shown emerging out of that darkness into the gradual light as he gets closer to his friends, and after the montage of his loved ones are shown, Boruto is now back in the light. Their opinion is that Boruto is fully regaining control, and they say the biggest supporter in this fact is the fact that before Boruto was trying to retake control, we see him fighting against his friends, but they say that the Konoha Shinobi in particular should stand out because it's all the key shinobi that we saw in Boruto's vision for the future. Team 10 was in Boruto's future vision. Team 10 is there fighting against them. So too are Sarada and Mitsuki, who were in that vision, and now he's fighting against them in the opening. Before we're shown Boruto versus Kawaki clashing in the same pose from Boruto chapter 66, where Kawaki killed Boruto in the manga, and by that placing of Momoshiki closing his fist around Boruto after he attacked his friends, it was meant to be a double foreshadowing. Now that we have the foundation in play, what exactly are the narrative impacts that's occurring? Well, for one, it would be quite the shakeup for the manga, and it'd be a total fan service moment, because one of the oldest Naruto what ifs that has been in the community for a long time is the idea of what if Naruto left Konoha? What if Naruto became evil? What if Naruto joined the Akatsuki? Some variation of that, which is odd, especially with the last one, that threw me for a major loop given how suicidal it is to join a group that's going to require you to extract the QB eventually. However, getting back to the point though, Momoshiki running rogue in Boruto's body pays off quite a bit of that fan service, because we see the literal main character being hunted down by those who he's close with. It'd be the other side of the coin of the Sasuke retrieval arc. It gives more terror to the idea of Momoshiki being in control of Boruto, because he's basically spitting in the face of Boruto's original character goals. So contrary to popular belief, Boruto's first goal wasn't to become the Shadow Hokage. That's his current goal. His first goal wasn't just to support the Hokage from the scenes. Boruto from early on in the anime had the goal of wanting to support his friends to help them reach their dreams, whatever those dreams might be. He was putting other people's happiness before himself. The idea of him turning on his friends is something that kept him up at night in fear, both in the anime version after he destroyed Sasuke's Rinnegan, and also in the manga you see him staying up at night thinking about what he saw with Momoshiki's vision. And for someone like Boruto, Momoshiki taking control and raising arms against his friends and Boruto being unable to stop it, those same friends who would be hopelessly overpowered would be the worst outcome for Boruto. Same if Momoshiki did damage to the village that Boruto loves and one day wants to protect. That line by Shikadai that friends don't do this to other friends could be Shikadai trying to reach out to Boruto, trying to wake him up from Momoshiki's control. Mitsuki saying you've really angered me now could be Momoshiki being the target of Mitsuki's rage and not necessarily Kawaki. Kawaki could merely be turning around upon hearing Boruto's location. I can see why people want this to be the case, because it is a bit too soon for another Boruto versus Kawaki fight, assuming that this fight happens in the next couple of chapters, like a lot of people tend to suggest. Having it be Boruto on the other end with his friends trying to beat him back into his senses and wake him back up from control is a nice plot twist on the story, and it keeps it from getting a little too repetitive. However, I also think there's something we have to keep in mind here. Boruto, while it does use a bunch of typical shonen tropes, there are a lot of times where fan ideas are better than what we actually get, which is why I always say, like, keep expectations in check. It's fun to water cooler talk and talk about various scenarios, but, you know, keep expectations in check. Though I will say, to be fair, Boruto's old writer, Ukyo Kodachi, did say Boruto was heavily inspired by My Hero Academia, and enough framework is set there where you can't deviate too much from it. Even though we're getting elements of Samurai 8 being mixed into Boruto's story, you can still see some of that My Hero Academia influence, hence why the Code and Shigaraki comparisons are there, where the guy keeps taking L's, even though he's the primary villain and has a shady older male villainous figure in the background seemingly goading this man along. Boruto pulling a Deku and Sarada or Sumire pulling, say, an Aravity. It's something that could work. I don't want to go into specifics and everything, because that should be something I believe you'll see in Core 2 of My Hero Academia, so I don't want to spoil that. However, I think fans also are looking at Boruto versus Kawaki like it just happened, which that's a yes and a no in my opinion. So it was one of the last major battle events that we've gotten, but there's been some distance. It's been literally a year since that battle and where we are right now. 5 months from now, we're at Boruto chapter 81. That fight happened in Boruto chapter 66. So we assume that they fight in chapter 82 in the summertime. It's a year and a half since that last fight, and this time there's been a proper build up towards a clash between these two happening, where narratively we see a split's coming. We have more weight behind it this time versus last time. Momoshiki took over. It was an opportune moment. We learned that the pills weren't working, and Kawaki killed Boruto as a way to save him from his karma seal. This time though, if we have a clash, we have the specter of Momoshiki warning Boruto, this is actually coming. I'm gonna take control. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Boruto being defiant, trying to defy his fate. You have the friends trying to stop him. You have the growing seeds of a rift between Kawaki and Boruto, and Momoshiki's fear of wanting to avoid fighting Kawaki at all costs. But again, I don't think this is happening in the next 5 chapters, because there's enough hints here that Code is making his move, that Code might serve as a red herring narratively to put this on the back burner to distract us until it's time for this clash to happen again in the story. And it might be closer to 2 years since we saw chapter 66 before we get that clash, because the Code story of having the Ten Tails army isn't something you just do away with after one battle, where Code shows up, suffers a defeat, takes his army and goes home. You can't do something like that where it's over with in 1 or 2 chapters. Going back to the Boruto writing of the past, where the manga villains like Shojoji and the car inner members, they just popped up without any meat behind them, and they got taken out of the picture relatively quick, like some Scooby-Doo villains or Cartoon Network villains, where they pop up and you know next to nothing about them or their motives or what pushes them, except for the fact that they're strong and they're going to be defeated by the good guys, and you just rely on the anime to fill in all the gaps for you because the manga isn't going to cover anything in depth. You can't go back to something like that. That's the fastest way to damage Code's character, especially after he's taken the losses that he's taken. Give the character room to breathe a bit more. Also, let the idea of Boruto is the one attacking his friends or Kawaki's the one that's gone rogue, let it simmer in the back of the minds of your readers for a while, in particular if you're planning to subvert our expectations. Boruto going berserker mode in the next couple of chapters is going to feel forced if it happens right now. It's going to reek of trying to do something to spike the manga sales, because this time around, Shueisha knows that adapting the manga into the anime format isn't going to spike the sales for the manga like it does with other shonen series. Dropping this in there right now feels too much like a throw the kitchen sink against the wall approach if Boruto and Kawaki happens in the next couple of chapters. It's time to let the villain of the arc actually feel like more of a villain and start giving fans a reason to dread him. A good villain needs moments, something Code is lacking. and shifting the focus to Boruto right now, attacking everyone, that feels like a mistake though. I could be in the minority when it comes to this, which is where I'm gonna turn this over to you guys. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? Should Code actually make his move before Boruto potentially attacks his friends, or should the manga just jump right into it and potentially give us another Boruto versus Kawaki rematch, since it's been a year since the last manga's battle? Since it's been a year since their last battle. While you think that over, click here to watch my Black Clover chapter 347 review, or click here to watch this Naruto Explained video.